This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Shake them ropes. Jeff Hawkins, Chris Novembrino, back for another week. Chris, there is at least the beginning of talk of reviving Lucha Underground. It would be the same type of ideas, although with a different name. You're back, baby. Back in the fold. Doing yet another Lucha Underground podcast. You can quit this one and go on your merry way, and I'll retire, and it'll be great.
I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to move me on here. Make sure you put this camera stuff on gallery too. The people like it when we're on gallery and it's not switching back and forth. And I'm a man of the people. Yeah, I'm excited about this reboot of Lucha Underground. I think that there's of course been a real public clamoring for Johnny Mundo and Ricochet, the red hot Ricochet, to make his way back and go back under the mask as Prince Puma. If there is ever one person who should be champing at the bit to get back onto Lucha Underground, it should be Ricochet. He should be paying them to relaunch this show. He should be financing it out of his own pocket. I don't know how he's going to get Pentagon back in there. I don't know how he's going to get Johnny Mundo back. I don't know how we're going to get Taya Valkyrie back. But really, Prince Puma just needs to be the... I'll put it this way, too. If you have Prince Puma and you have Dario Cueto, you can kind of make everything else work around that.
We are brought to you this week, or sponsored by MyBookie. More on them later. Yeah, and we're also on video, as usual. I hope I have the right settings for gallery. Don't want to do that while we're recording, but I didn't change anything. But on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube page, you can go there. You can, if you want to, just put it in the background and watch us as we do this ridiculous show. You can do it there too. There will be no appearance of Bobo the Wonder Monkey though, because he's not real.
What are you talking about? That's okay. I mean, you could just allude to him being off camera.
That I could do, but you know.
Yeah, or you just shatter kayfabe there. All right, that's fine.
You know.
Yeah.
At this point, all three of our listeners don't care. Let's start with Peacock, because the flagship had an interesting conversation. I want to kind of glom off of that. They have the privilege of going first because they record earlier than we do. But reading from the Wrestling Observer, Peacock informed the Wrestling Observer that regarding the WWE content, while match markers, virtual scrubbing of video timelines, and the ability to rewind and fast forward or start live programming from the beginning are not available on Peacock, the plan is to upgrade all those issues. They anticipate offering live pause and restart controls and scrub bar previews by SummerSlam. Regarding search, entity-based discovery is on the product roadmap, and they anticipate offering searching by name by September. Peacock has edited off Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown match and interview from WrestleMania 6 due to Piper wrestling in blackface. Half blackface. They also removed a backstage segment from the 2005 Survivor Series with Bischoff, Vince, Cena, and Booker T, where Vince used the N-word, not the hard ER, but the A version, I put in parentheses, and that segment would come across terribly today. In parentheses, it came off terribly then, too.
It wasn't actually good back then either. No. Yeah, it was not actually.
It made me uncomfortable then, and I mellowed in my old age. Right now, all content is being reviewed for standards and practices. Peacock is pushing itself as a family-friendly service, and anything that doesn't meet standards will be edited out. Now, I think Joe and Rich, we're mostly correct here. I am team disclaimer because much like cartoons that were offensive during the World War II era say, I believe these types of things are a product of their time and should be viewed as such, and then the uncomfortable stuff should be there to be seen and to be reviled and also how far we've come. Although WWE, you can't really do that. I don't really have a problem with editing. It's just, I agree with them that then it becomes, okay, how much are we going to chop out of these things? I have a problem with Peacock pushing itself as a family-friendly service, and anything that doesn't meet standards will be edited out. And this is my issue here, and this is where I'm going to kind of diverge from the flagship argument, and if you don't listen to the flagship argument, we'll pretty much go through most of that here. But it's almost like they're treating WWE as if it's real. And it's not. We know this, guys. On Peacock, because I was on the service last night, Chris, they have the very raunchy, very politically incorrect, very homophobic at times comedy Slap starring Paul Newman on Peacock, unedited. They have the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. They have vampire porn for 40-year-olds on Peacock. I'm not so certain that some of the things that they're going to find offensive over on the WWE platform, though I understand why they're doing this. But I don't think you can then say, well, Peacock is this family-friendly network over here with our vampire soft bondage porn. But WWE, well, that's a bridge too far. Now, let's admit some harsh truths about wrestling. There's a lot of racism in wrestling. Always has been. Some of it done by the company, some of it done for cheap heat's sake. I think there's a difference somewhat between the two. I think we've used xenophobia for decades in wrestling, whether it's Nazis or Russians or Japanese wrestlers or Jim Ross, people from the Orient, as Jim Ross would say.
I mean, there's a tag team in the 1990s called the Orient Express.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a train called the Orient Express, Chris. I mean, there was a murder on it, apparently, according to Agatha Christie. I can handle that. Some of the sketches and some of the commentary, though, I mean, to really chop out everything, you're going to do a lot of muting of Bobby Heenan, because a lot of Bobby Heenan's commentary was race-based at times. I recall a couple that I laughed at, one that I can probably say on air without getting in a lot of trouble, but I will quote, it's like, if you wrestle Ricky Ataki, you feel like wrestling him 30 minutes later. Insensitive. There's another one for Tito Santana that I can think of that I don't want to repeat on here, lest there are people listening that just edit me out of context. But I think what's going to happen here, and Joe and Rich was basically saying that they're going to chop up all these, all the entire archive and stuff like that, to like, you're going to get like a 25-minute Mid-South show because the Buddy Landale, Butch Reed angle reeks of racial prejudice and things like that. I don't even think we're getting that. I think we're going to get like the last 20 years of WWE. We're going to get your NXTs. You're going to get that complete catalog. You're going to get all the WWE pay-per-views. You might get WCW. You might not. Just kind of depends. Although most of that's been cleansed already. But I think it kind of stops at the Attitude Era. I don't think you're going to get the 70s and 80s stuff, even though they're guaranteeing all this stuff, because they can't guarantee that they're going to get to all the insensitive things that happened in the 80s. Because God knows there's a lot of insensitive stuff that flew in territory wrestling in the 80s, in the 90s, if we're including Smoky Mountain, and ECW isn't exactly the most family-friendly show in the mid-90s. In fact, they were politically incorrect and proud of it. I think this is going to be a homogenized archive to the point where Peacock is going to find out that the juice ain't worth the squeeze. It's going to be a cost-benefit analysis, and the cost of having people going through all the hours of this catalog are not going to be worth it. And here's the part that I haven't heard mentioned by anybody, Chris, and I'm interested in your thing on this. WWE really pulled a grift on this one, because once they get this library back after 5 years of loaning it, it's going to be scrubbed of all the difficult stuff, so to speak. And yes, now we can present ourselves as a real family-friendly. Look, this was what was on Peacock, and now it's on our network type of thing. it's a weird kind of grift that they got here where somebody else is going to have to cleanse all this stuff for us, and then we'll be squeaky clean, even though we're really the bad guy here. I don't condone anything racist on wrestling or anything like that. I'm just jaded enough where I'm used to it. If you are offended by it, I completely agree with your assessment. I am not trying to say you're wrong to be offended by this stuff. You're obviously right to be offended by this stuff. WWE's the bad guy here, but they're also the one who made the deal with Peacock. So it's a weird game that they're playing here. What do you think? I've talked long enough and I apologize.
Okay, so a lot there. And we'll start with the actual deal that WWE brokered with Peacock. And this was actually quite clever by Vince. He'll never admit why it's clever. It's clever because essentially what he sold is a library that is unfit for public consumption. And it's a bit of a paradox here. Like, where else are you going to sell the library to? You're not going to sell it to Netflix. You're not going to sell it to any number of these places. Any of these other places, any of these other outlets would have this exact same quandary. You have a massive library of footage. A lot of it is problematic. You can't have it up on your server in this unedited way. So you have this product here, but you can't present it in the way that a normal wrestling consumer would watch it. And WWE was already having an issue with this from a different front, which is that it was hard enough to take all of this wrestling and archive it in a way where one could coherently step into, let's say, the second week of February 1992 and just watch every single WCW show starting in February, going from like Saturday night. This is pre-Nitro, so you wouldn't have Nitro. Every Clash of the Champions, but getting that stuff all in sequence was hard enough, and that was without WWE in their editing and curation trying to worry about situations like, oh golly, what if something racist gets said towards Ron Simmons? How are we going to handle that?
Better go. Harley Race says something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're just talking about getting the bulk amount of it on. So on this level, it's brilliant. And here's where it gets really clever. Yeah, at some point down the line, they're the only purchaser for Peacock. So they will be able to buy back their same thing later on, get all of their rights back. It will be edited, and they'll get it for pennies on the dollar. So it's really dope. You're selling your house, getting full price value on it, coming back in and buying your old house back for a fraction of what your house was. Like, it's a great move on WWE.
And they refurbished it while you were at it. You know, oh,
yes,
look at that.
Yeah, we improved the kitchen. We fixed the kitchen. Yeah.
The kitchen you've wrecked? Yeah, we fixed it. And we're giving it back to you for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
They pulled a Fox on NBC to me because I think they went, oh, we have this network, but we really aren't interested in it. We want to get rid of all this content. And look, we have 2 million subscribers who will then go over to Peacock. Oh, and we are a family-friendly product, or our product can be all things to all people. We can be a sports product. We can be a family product. We can be a comedy product. We could be a dramatic
just like with
product.
Fox, Jeff,
yes.
They don't actually watch the show. They bought the show. Now they have to watch the show because they bought it, and they're like, oh,
what
Ronnie,
is this crap
oh my God. I thought I liked They Live. Roddy Piper did this? Oh, whoa!
They Live is on Peacock, by the way.
Hey, that's a great movie. They Live rules. But let's not hate on They Live. But so now let's continue this from Peacock. So now you have bought a lemon. What do you do with this lemon that you have purchased? I want to pivot back to the idea that I pitched a couple of weeks ago here, which is a stream of, I'll use my term, badass wrestling matches. And here's what's great about the badass wrestling matches thing. It's all straight wrestling, no filler. And what's good about that is you're pulling out these good matches, the best stuff from these shows, and you're not you don't have to worry about what Rich and Joe are worried about, like where you got a Mid-South hour-long television show that's now 32 and a half minutes because it's been edited into oblivion. Instead, what we're doing is we're getting the filet steak cut out of that Mid-South thing. Boom, that's on the stream. And you can do that. And for Peacock, that's the best thing they can do. They can keep adding to these playlists, keep stretching them out, make them days long, ultimately get them up to a week. But you're never going to be able to present week-to-week wrestling. I think what Peacock will end up doing, though, which will be a mistake and will be unwatchable dreck, is taking little chunks of 1995 or the Attitude Era or the Monday Night Wars and making like playlists or like best of, where you'll get like a random episode of Nitro and a random episode of Raw, and they'll be like June, August, October 1996, Starrcade. You'll get all the pay-per-views and all that stuff if you're lucky. I bet you'll still get all the WCW and everything like that. But it'll ultimately be an unwatchable experience. And I think they're going to be uninterested in making it a watchable experience. They don't even have basic video playback ready for this crap. They don't have rewind ready for this crap. That's how far behind they are. So when we're talking about curating the content and making it like archivable and watchable and searchable, it's never going to happen. Best thing they could do would be to make these playlists. I would even go further beyond just having the stream of badass matches. Badass matches from the 70s, badass matches from the 80s, badass matches from the 90s, from the aughts, the Ruthless Aggression era, from the Yes Movement era. Have that so that you've got a few different channels, so to speak. Maybe an ECW channel, because like here, to your point, Jeff, if we're worried about all the different isms, ECW is gonna be one of those ones you need to just edit stuff. Get to the part where like Rob Van Dam's in the ring and start the match there.
Parental approval. Give parental approval to watch the ECW channel. That's all I want.
So here's the other way that I would tackle this. Like that's how I think Peacock will tackle this. I am much closer to where you're at. Look, I am paying for Peacock. I'm not, but like I'm speaking from the consumer standpoint. I'm paying for Peacock. I am here to watch wrestling. That's what I paid my $9.95 for. It's partly for the live shows, but like presumably, especially if I'm paying for the premium or the plus, or you can even make your own tier for it. If I'm paying for that tier, I am saying, I know what I'm getting into. I'm giving you money to get into that door. Please show me the things now. It's like going into a rated R movie. I expect some racy language, maybe a boob or two, all sorts of things. Like that's what you get at R movies because you paid to go in to see that R movie. That's how I want my wrestling to be. Give me the disclaimer. Make it such that if I am a parent and I own Peacock and I want to disable the WWE network, make it so that I can do that, so that my kid can't accidentally go in to wrestling and all of a sudden discover Kimono Wanalea or Francine or something like that. The night Kimono Wanalea danced naked atop the ECW arena. Like,
a jam.
If you are of a certain age, you saw that commercial more times than you can count. I understand wanting to make sure that your 10-year-old does not experience the night that Kimono Wanalea did.
No, Chris, little Bobby can't watch ECW, but he can watch the rest of the Peacock network where he can get 50 Shades renewed with like candle wax and softcore porn and Paul Newman yelling homophobic epithets.
I'm fine with parental controls. Like, look, yes. I don't view parental controls as a form of censorship, a form of canceling anything.
No,
parental controls are a parent deciding what they do and don't want to have their child watch for any number of completely understandable and rational reasons, up to and including, I don't want to have a talk about this week. And that's a good reason to not have a talk about something.
I'm there with you. I like, why does Peacock get to decide what we can watch and what we can't watch when they have this other stuff on their network? I'm a little concerned with that. I understand any excuse you give me that you're gonna censor stuff that's offensive, and and it's eventually gonna get to stuff like Stephanie getting crucified on the cross when the higher power angle happened, because that's gonna offend that sect of people that watch it.
This gets to another great tree of this discussion that I think is equally as important, which is that while I am generally skeptical about slippery slope arguments being deployed on my other show, Don't Worry About the Government, in the realm of politics, I think that in this case, if you want to consider the slippery slope discussion here when it comes to wrestling, it's sort of endless, right? Like, wrestling is all of the different isms. Whether you're discussing any of the questionable Undertaker angles, like crucifying the boss man, like, that was pretty questionable. Everything involving Sable back in the day, obviously, Kimono Wanalea. We can get into the Nation of Domination.
Sable and her pasties are going to be persona non grata. Vampire porn.
And should DX spoofing the Nation be not on the network?
Oh, that's gone. That's gone.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then we get into stuff like one of the ones that I thought was interesting was NBC pulled the episode of Monday Night Raw where Donald Trump buys Monday Night Raw. Donald Trump, you might remember, was a president of the United States at one point here, but to my understanding, there's nothing else about that episode that's questionable, and I don't even necessarily know that a former president buying Raw in and of itself is questionable. But that's been pulled from the network. So we're already getting into, this is what I'm talking about. I'm bringing that up specifically not to mention the guy. I'm bringing that up to mention the creep. The creep of what we're defining as problematic content here. And I think it's already becoming a problem, which is why Jeff and I are of the opinion that you really, like, the disclaimer route, you're either at a crossroads now where you have to go to the disclaimer route or you have to go into the stream and playlist mode. Those are your two options, because otherwise preserving the 1,700 hours, it's not realistic, and I also don't think they're going to deploy manpower and resources to do all the curation.
Or the parental approval route, where you have to, have like kind of like what Disney Plus has done with Dumbo because of the crows and the Aristocats because we are Siamese, if you please.
Yeah.
I mean, they own up to their history, but they go, okay, we're going to add this extra step so you can get it, but we're not going to cut that out of the movie necessarily, or you're just not going to be able to get it if you don't have that second step going. I think that's the route to take versus, well, let's force some 20-year-old interns to watch this crap and tell us what's offensive to them.
That would be, that would be a fun job for me, but God, I couldn't even imagine putting together those reports.
There's going to be somebody who gets a big job in Hollywood 20 years from now. You know what my first job was? Editing wrestling content for the Peacock Network. I was in a basement watching this.
And going, hey, I think we need to discuss Killer Carl Cox, maybe.
Yes. We need to discuss Confederate baby faces. We need to discuss the Freebirds.
Tracy Smothers might be a problem.
Little Richard Marley is going to be an issue.
Shaska Watley.
Shaska Watley is going to be an issue. Saba Simba's going to be an issue. Trish barking like a dog is going to be an issue. Bra and panties matches are going to be an issue. There's just Jerry Lawler issues.
I
Jerry
know.
Lawler. Jerry Lawler on the whole is going to be an issue.
And of course, Taka Michinoku's entire WWF run once he intersects with Val Venus is going to be a big problem. So, even Tajiri's presentation, I love Tajiri. I think Tajiri's a fantastic wrestler. A lot of his presentation on WWE television was problematic. This is why I think ultimately you need to have a parental throttle so that you make sure that everyone who's going in there is an adult and a paying adult at that, so that NBC, if, let's say, some young enterprising journalist, as Rich and Joe bring up, like there'll be some hot dog journalist who tries to bring this up and tries to throw this at NBC's doorstep. Should that hot dog try to do that?
Hold on. Let's take prop bets. What employer will they be from? Will it be BuzzFeed? Will it be Vox? Will it be Teen Vogue?
I gotta go Teen Vogue. Teen Vogue. I like to bet on an up and comer. And Teen Vogue, new kid on the block. I'm going with Teen Vogue.
Okay.
I feel good about this one, but yes, I know the type. So someone will eventually try to show up and go, "Wow, NBC and Peacock are hosting this problematic content of wrestling."
Yes.
So
it's now NBC's fault.
And if you don't believe this, I was going down memory lane, completely independent of this week, just like, YouTube feed throws out stuff at me. I was watching a lot of like documentaries on wrestling from the 90s, and you can see the disingenuous way the media went after pro wrestling in the 90s. They discovered that there was steroids in wrestling, and now us, who follow wrestling and understand the business, a lot of different political persuasions all across, sensibilities and all that stuff. We get steroids in wrestling and have a more nuanced and informed understanding of how it is used, who uses them, like all these sorts of things. It doesn't make you like pro steroids by any stretch, but like you have a more informed understanding. Go back and watch the media treatment on steroids, where everyone's like, "Oh, I just can't believe it." Or I watched a thing, the Chuck Austin. He takes the rocker dropper from Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. He was a job guy in the 90s. Jannetty goes for the rocker dropper, which is a variant of the famous, or later becomes the famouser. And Chuck Austin takes it really bad, like breaks his neck, is paralyzed, all this stuff. The media treatment on this, they're like, "And they didn't ask if you had any experience. They didn't vet you." Like, they discovered job guys, and they're talking about job guys like it is the most irresponsible independent contractor scenario, that there had never been anything like this, as though it didn't exist in the business for the last 30 years prior
Mass
to
transit. Stuff like that, yeah.
Yes, right. So yes, there will be this disingenuous moment for Peacock, and the way Peacock will be able to respond to it, I know it's a very long wind-up, but this exists, and this will happen, and I would like the media to move away from it, but they won't, so I'm just identifying the trend before it happens. What Peacock needs to be in a position to say is, yeah, everyone who is viewing this content is paying to view this, much like someone who pays to go in to see an R movie. And if you don't want to see the R movie, you don't have to go and see Fatal Attraction. You don't have to go and see whatever questionable R movies in the theaters right now that you don't want your family to see. All of these people are paying customers. They're all adults. We set it up so that children can't just stumble upon it, and that responsible parents, if they want to take that extra step and make sure their kid never goes into the WWE part of the Peacock network, we can make it so that you can do that. And they just need to have a really simple and basic response. And I also think, and I don't like betting on the collective intelligence of the American people, broadly speaking, Jeff, but I do think that people generally understand that wrestling's kind of like Jerry Springer, or kind of like day court TV shows, and that it's like, it's not a highbrow sort of thing.
It's not highbrow. It's interactive. It's supposed to elicit a response from you. It's not Law and Order SVU, which you sit back as kind of a omniscient, you're watching all this happen and you know what's going on. It's supposed to be that kind of, yes, we want you to hate these people when they say these terrible things type of thing. I thought of something, though, when you were talking just then, that's going to be part of this article. And it's really where NBC Peacock has now kind of screwed themselves. Because they've started editing this stuff, they now knowingly put this content up there and are hosting it, and know that it's problematic and the things. They can't go ignorance. They can't plead ignorance of this stuff because they've started editing it already.
Well, ignorance of the law, as we all know, is no excuse, of course.
This is not a law, though. These are standards.
No,
damn it.
Standards are laws in a different way. No, I think that all the more buttresses the idea that they have to do something dramatic, and I think you just have to put safeguards, and make it very clear that people who are entering into this establishment, the WWE Network is the establishment here, are doing so in a knowing way as adults. I also think that really, what does this get to the core of? How absurd it has been for the last 20 years that Vince McMahon has been deluding himself. The WWE television is family-friendly entertainment. When there are segments that are family-friendly and characters who are family-friendly, getting a little tongue-tied there, but on the whole, the product from beginning to end, from end to end, is on a regular basis not family friendly. There is always at least one angle or one thing or something, whether it is right now Reginald serving wine to Carmella, and that's her whole gimmick. How do you explain that to your 10-year-old or your 8-year-old little daughter? Why is Carmella drinking champagne? Why are the Street Profits talking about they want the smoke? What's in the red cup? Like, what you like Dad Chris?
Hold on. You think the 10-year-old's gonna look and go, why are they serving champagne, as opposed to, how come Reginald can do 30 backflips on the apron in the middle of a professional
When will
sporting
Vince
event?
finally belt Reginald as the women's champion in this company? I would hope my 10-year-old would have that level of insight. And
How come people can just run through the ring in the middle of a wrestling match?
Why
and
is
the
this entire
referee does
division
nothing about
failing
it?
the Bechdel test? I would love to see my 10-year-old daughter look me in the eyes and say, Daddy, this whole show is failing the Bechdel test, and yet professional wrestling, of all things, should be one of the easiest narrative structures in which to deliver stories that pass the Bechdel test. I would love that. But no, I mean, like, look, I think that there are problematic elements all over the place here, and that was my point. We got off into the sidetrack. Something was
quite all right.
Yeah, and but
You think the worst thing a kid's gonna find is champagne on this product that is just
I'm talking about the current
stupid
product.
people.
I'm talking about the current product, the one that's on
So am I.
2021. You know,
Okay.
but let alone, you know, going back to Sable, or Edge and Lita and the
Why
live.
why is Apollo Crews talking funny now, Daddy?
What is Kane doing to Katie Vick?
Oh God. No, that's going too. That's out. That's
Yeah,
totally
no,
out.
I know. So I think they've got to do something. I think that part of WWE's bet here is at some point Peacock gets fed up with this and sells it, because I think what they'll end up doing, to close this thing, what I opened up with, I think the most likely thing that happens is Peacock edits this into playlists. Not like what I'm talking about with individual standalone matches, but like isolated shows that are like not in any sort of coherent rhythmic order. So that you have like a Monday Night Raw, 5 weeks go by, another Monday Night Raw, 5 weeks go by. Peacock will not appreciate the fact that wrestling is a linear object, and it needs to be done week to week, station to station. And if you don't do that, you don't have the main thing at that point. So then at that point, you're reduced down to showing the pay-per-views, because most of the pay-per-views, like especially all the WWE ones, have recap packages, so they'll explain the angles well enough so that people understand what's going on those shows. Like Kane and The Undertaker, the WrestleMania angle. The video package on that's actually really amazing on the video for WrestleMania. So like they'll have things like that, and then they will have these little isolated shows that won't make any sense. They should do a playlist of just matches. They probably won't. And I think people won't watch this thing. And then I think Peacock will ultimately decide that's not worth it, or we will keep doing the streaming thing and maybe sell back the archives to WWE and keep a joint deal where they continue to do the live shows and have a small little library of matches just to say that they've got some WWE stuff up
and
there.
their reality programming probably too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that will be the deal. And ultimately WWE ends up with this library, which will, for us as consumers, probably be the best thing. I think that WWE they will make their money, but hopefully the rest of the industry will realize that there is no actual market for this library because it is so problematic in nature. The only person who can ever own it and stream it and present it really is WWE.
It's give a shout out to our sponsor. March is here and the madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Select the winners from 63 tournament games. No longer 63. We're getting in the Sweet 16 this weekend for a chance at $10,000 in cash prizes. Doesn't matter whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting the national championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props. That's the fun stuff, is the live game stuff. MyBookie has you covered. Sign up today at mybookie.ag and use promo code ROPES, ROPES, to secure a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Make sure you use my promo code so they know we hooked you up. That's promo code ROPES to claim your first deposit bonus. College ball, NBA, and NHL, no matter the sport, no matter the minute, MyBookie puts the action in your hands with in-game live betting, and with the choice of thousands of lines and odds, you can turn any game day into payday. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Once again, mybookie.ag, use code ROPES, and get up to $1,000 of a deposit bonus. And we thank them for sponsoring us. They will be sponsoring us throughout the year, as well as other shows on the Voices of Wrestling Network. Let's get into other news here. I think we went long enough on Peacock. I don't know if I want the Peacock gig anymore. They're still looking. We'll
I gotta tell you, like the Peacock gig sounds like a real quandary, or what it has to open up with is an earnest conversation about what you have purchased now. And I would not take the job prior to having that conversation with them of like, look, here's what you've got on your hands here. And I would love to work with it, but we need to figure out a way where we can present this. One last thought on that. From WWE's standpoint here, I know we said this is like a good deal financially speaking because they'll be buying back the network at some point. That's great and all, except that we have this downward trend in professional wrestling over the last decade. Viewership is down in a substantial way across the board. Ever since the Wednesday Night Wars have begun, viewership is down. Yeah, it's like only like 10%. That could, spring back at some point, but it's still 10% trending in the wrong direction after nearly a decade of trending in the wrong direction. Like at some point you need to start trending in the right direction, and the way one would start trending in the right direction is by getting this wrestling content onto a mainstream outlet like a Peacock, onto a mainstream place like a YouTube. So WWE, yeah, on one hand could go, hey, we'll be buying back our house for pennies on the dollar, and like that is funny. That's cool. But they also want to grow the brand out long term. Not Vince necessarily. Long term's maybe not what he's so worried about these days. But other people who will be managing that company long term, and that company as an entity long term, needs to be thinking about how do we grow out our audience again? How do we get wrestling back into viewers? There are more Americans now than there were 20 years ago. That's how population works in this country. And yet viewership is down by a substantial margin. Like in raw numbers, which tells you the percentage is a real ass kicking. So when you really think about it like that, WWE and professional wrestling writ large has lost cachet. They need a mainstream foothold somewhere and something to get back into that public culture vernacular.
Late last week, it seems like it's old news, but we haven't covered it yet. Manuel Andrade, released on 3/21, 6 days after he first requested a release. He'd been either happy or unhappy based on whether he had been used well since his signing with WWE in 2015. When he was one of the biggest stars in Mexico as La Sombra, he has basically not been used since Paul Heyman was taken off Raw Creative. He does not have the standard 90-day no-compete clause, which is very, very interesting because you have to have someone with pull to be able to get you out of that little thing, and I think he does. But Andrade, able to
I've been told he has a way with words.
And a way with women. This is interesting. I don't think he ends up in AEW immediately. I think he'd make a great addition, but it's another thing where, hey, we have Phoenix and we have Pentagon and we want Laredo Kid. Do we need Andrade?
They love these large factions, though. I could totally see Andrade slotting in there specifically because they have all those people. And AEW's approach has been, I would argue, very much to a fault, the more the merrier in every single one of these stables and every single one of these factions. And I also think, look, AEW has wanted to buy things that WWE has not used. Andrade has been a very hot ticket item in terms of the professional wrestling market. Like he's a guy who AEW would want. I would also, if I was AEW, not be rushing to get him because Andrade's negotiation power is fairly limited right now because he just got released from WWE. WWE is not going to be in the market to get him back under contract again. So AEW doesn't want to be negotiating against themselves.
I could see a route where he wants to do more than one company, probably one in Mexico. You know,
and if I'm Andrade, that's probably the best strategy for my negotiation power.
Well, there's the issue with CMLL and AAA not getting along. New Japan, if someone will let him work with him, I could see him doing a dual thing with that because they, of course, have Los Ingobernables de Japan over there, and he'd make
I'd love to see him in the G1.
Yeah. Ring of Honor is another possibility because Rush is there. That's his best friend, and they were Los Ingobernables, but I don't see them doing ROH and New Japan because New Japan is now dealing with AEW. He has options and he has leverage. It just depends on the big money and where it is. And right now, other than WWE, it's AEW. Maybe New Japan overpays for him, I could see, but
and like AEW has the TV relationship. I think the big news here for AEW this week is that they keep adding more television programming with TNT. TNT keeps they add another reality TV show, I think it was the Brandy Rhodes thing that she's doing.
I was gonna get to that in a bit.
Yeah. But no, so like if you are a wrestler and you want to get TV time and not just necessarily in-ring time, although AEW now has a lot of in-ring time if you want to just get matches in a ring on camera between dark and dark elevation and elevated darkness and all of the other and the yet to be named third hour of AEW rolling out here at some point. More they've been talking more. It's a lot of content. What story next?
Charlotte Flair announced she had COVID-19. She missed the March 15th and March 22nd Raw. We're told she is getting better. She was slated for a match with Asuka at WrestleMania. This is Dave speaking. I suppose it's possible to add her, and they wanted to announce a match. Usually the company goes with 2 weeks, and a case from before March 15th in theory would be fine by April 10th, but every case is different. It's a surprise they take her out for a case from nearly a month earlier, but that's what happened. There was some speculation that there might have been some hardball being played by Charlotte in terms of Andrade's release, but she also announced when that speculation came up that she had COVID. Chris, any thoughts? It's okay to say no if you don't.
No, because
okay.
they'd be so speculative
Yes.
and like so conjectural that I'm not in a place to know.
Now, it's interesting because right now we don't have any multiple team or wrestler schmazes going on the card. They're mostly one-on-one with the exception of the aforementioned triple threat. Actually, it wasn't mentioned yet, but the triple threat that's going to happen for Roman Reigns' title. You know, sitting out there without a match right now because those plans fell through is Bayley, and she's not on this card. They could always just add Charlotte and Bayley at some point here and be done with it. But I also would not be shocked if Charlotte nor Bayley were on this card.
On WrestleMania. Neither one of them. Yeah. I mean, it just...
Or Battle Royal or whatever.
That seems so crazy. Yeah, I mean, I bet Bayley's in the Battle Royal, but that is very weird.
I think they alluded to Bayley during the during the Bianca Belair thing. I think it's very possible they just put those two back together. I think
that
that
Bailey
that
and
might be.
Sasha reunite now as heels, and
Yeah,
Sasha is helping, or Bailey is helping Sasha.
which doesn't explain Hell in the Cell because, well, who cares about history? There's something for the Peacock editor to do. Yeah, try and make sense of these timelines when we just drop stories. Go with that. Yeah, I don't have anything. If she has COVID, I hope she gets well. And look, I could see a case from 2 weeks ago being so detrimental to your health that it takes a while to get your cardio back up and
Oh
things.
yeah, I mean, look, you have things like long haulers, who literally have lingering symptoms that go on for months. A number of athletes have bounced back from this just fine. A number of wrestlers have bounced back from this just fine. Some wrestlers have gotten this and have been out for prolonged periods of time. Because that's how COVID-19 works. They started to identify, I think the genetic marker or whatever that seems to kind of tell if you're going to have more of a hard time, and so people will eventually be able to get tested and be aware on that front. That's not widely available at this point, and so yeah, I think look, the 2 weeks thing is good if you're not showing any symptoms at the end of 2 weeks. You can come back. But 2 weeks is really based on this idea that you're not showing any symptoms at the end of 2 weeks and you're feeling all right. You can't know that. Some people, COVID-19 lasts for 2 months.
TNT officially announced a new reality show that will air later this year called Roads to the Top. It will be a weekly 30-minute show on Cody and Brandy Rhodes, built around them both as wrestling stars and working behind the scenes as executives trying to build a new company. Other business endeavors, including the training school with QT Marshall and a cast of friends and family pushing Cody as the son of Dusty Rhodes and being part of a legendary wrestling family, with his mother as part of the cast. Brandy is being pushed as the first black woman executive in the history of pro wrestling. Okay.
It's reeks of Hunter and Stephanie, only it's Cody and Brandy.
Ms. and Mrs. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, no. This is like, oh, we're running the company. We're a power couple. Oh, we're raising kids. Like, this is the shtick that Hunter and Stephanie did a decade ago.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way. If this is a pure reality show where they are actually acting as documentarians of these two as they go through their day-to-day life, probably interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think everybody thinks that their lives more interesting than it actually is. If this is Chris Lee Knows Best or every other reality show which has like executive producers who are comedians and sketch comics coming up with wacky situations for the, oh my God, we had a birthday cake that we had ordered, and wouldn't you know it, on the way home it fell and crashed on the back seat. Herda. What the? Those reality shows suck. And I hate the genre, but a lot of people watch them, but they suck. It's like you watch wrestling.
I cannot believe that you're gonna just come on the cast and malign Chris Lee of all people.
Okay, how about the real world? Where you got a bunch of 20-somethings drunk, so they'd sleep with each other in this expensive house that none of them could ever probably afford otherwise. And now all of them think that they're.
But you've got
challenge.
You've gotten to the problem with all reality television, right? Like, no one's life is really interesting enough to make steady documentaries of and television of. Like, if you were going to make a season of like reality television of someone, you would have like a camera crew with like me or Hawkins, just in this example, for like a year, and then that crew would kind of like dog ear different stuff that happened during that year and make an episode of that. But that's a very expensive process. That's not something that you can just do, or that largely normally is not just budgeted out. So instead, what you end up with is people trying to fake reality, which, especially with Cody and Brandy, I definitely see it going that route. And even, I don't think they have the ability to be candid like that, for like this camera documentary crew that's in their life. I also don't think that reality television is a medium that delivers that candor. I think reality television has always been a misnomer. It's not reality. It's a work. It's essentially like
It's pro wrestling.
It's
It
pro
really
wrestling
is.
documentaries. Yeah, no, it's a documentary that is kayfabed. It's a kayfabe doc. Yeah.
I gave her a rose. Why doesn't she love me?
On this island, any temptation is completely allowed.
By the way, you can watch Temptation Island on the Peacock Network.
Which is like an entire show that is premised on infidelity and transient sexual relationships.
Family friendly cheating on your girlfriend. That's what that stuff is, right? There.
Fundamentally, not monogamy, not family friendly.
Hall of Fame additions that we have not yet announced. Eric Bischoff, Kane, Rob Van Dam, and the Great Khali. Coco Beware, you're off the hook, brother. Great Khali is here to break it to that India.
And the Great Khali. I cannot wait to watch this year's Hall of Fame playlist on the Peacock Network, where I can see some of the best of matches here. Get a little Punjabi prison going on here. A little bit of that aforementioned Undertaker versus Kane at WrestleMania match that stunk it up. Maybe an Inferno match in here. Yeah.
Not much of a major note with Wednesday night ratings. AEW placed 6th for the night with 757,000 viewers and a .30 in 18 to 49. That's 384,000 of that 757,000. Up from last week, but still below the usual .32 level because of the challenge, mostly, I would say. NXT was 29th with 678,000 viewers, .14 in the 18 to 49 demographic, 183,000 viewers, only up slightly from last week's third lowest number in the history of the show. Wrestling is not cool. That's, they're very happy with the top 5 show every night, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get that. I get that
and
entertainment has changed and it's niche and they're making money.
Yep.
I get all that.
Yeah. AEW and WWE have both found models that are making them money, but it's not cool.
Yeah, it's not cool. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yep.
So now we can get into a little bit of Graps talk, although we spent a lot of time on news, so we may just want to gloss over this stuff.
No. I want to bring the content to the people.
Number one, I want to shout out Andrew Rich for thinking of a much better title for our show last week than I came up with on the fly, which was Flowers for Algebron, which would have been much better. But I will start with this note, also from the Wrestling Observer. Pertaining to WrestleMania, there have been a number of changes in recent weeks. The biggest, the Universal title match, where Edge turned heel at Fastlane. God, that happened a week ago. Where Edge turned heel and screwed Daniel Bryan in his Fastlane match with Reigns on March 21st.
Kind of a heel. We got to talk about that. We have to talk about that.
That was a late change stemming from a decision made by Vince McMahon that he wanted a number of things changed, including Reigns versus Edge. Numerous suggestions were made by a lot of people, most of which were said to be bad. The one eventually greenlit was adding Bryan to the match, which everyone agreed to. At that point, the feeling was Bryan would be the face. There was a lot of conjecture with Reigns would have been, or there was a lot of conjecture that Reigns would have been cheered over Edge. What? And that may have happened and may have led to Edge going heel. But we're told that was not the reason the match was changed. One person close to the situation said that the age issue, not as much the number as the look of age, quote, he was looking older each week with Edge, was a concerning point. But really, it was said it was just McMahon wanting to shake up the plans. Now, there is a simple way to get around Edge looking older, and that is to actually admit that he's older. And
stop
maybe,
presenting him like he is in his mid-20s.
Yes.
He came back. I loved it when he came back with the gray hair and stuff, like much like old man Ciampa in NXT, who is starting to kind of transition to his old man look, and it looks great. It's awesome. It works. It's tough. You can be a tough old man. Like we're aware of this trope. It exists. It's existed in wrestling. It exists in reality. Edge can be one of these tough old men. What he needs to not be, is like let's say
Jeff Hardy painting his face like he's still a 22-year-old. And going out there and wrestling the same match every week.
And Hardy, at least, frankly, with the face paint and everything, it works better with Hardy. Edge does not. You're like, you look at his face, the guy, his cheeks are a little sunken, sure. The top of his crown is starting to go a little thin on him. All of this is completely surmountable stuff if you don't insist that the man is still somewhere in his mid to late 20s.
Boy, that snap on the spear doesn't have as much bite as it used to.
No, it sure wouldn't. He came back from a broken neck. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a nice observation. It's not 2004 anymore.
Here's an idea. Give him a different finisher. You just gave Apollo Crews the angle slam. I mean, there has to be something that nobody else is using.
Give him a different accent.
Give him the rock bottom, for God's sake. I mean, it's not like Dwayne's coming back.
How about the downward spiral, which was his old finishing move, which he could deliver very easily? It's just a reverse STO. There's nothing to it.
Give Christian's finisher while we're at
it. He could do the unprettier and he could do the impaler. He could do any.
The impaler's great.
The impaler's a great move. The impaler's a dope move. He could say Gangrel could gift it to him, which would actually be a fun bit to have on TV too. There's any number of different options with Edge. Just stop presenting him like he's still the young guy. This drives me crazy. But you're also now, this makes it make more sense why the who's the good guy thing is so shades of gray right now between Edge and Bryan.
Edge, shades of gray.
Yeah.
That whole fast lane thing was so contrived and ridiculous, and of course Daniel Bryan's gonna accidentally hit him with a chair. And I didn't like Fastlane overall. I liked that last match, but it went about how we thought it would. Sasha
Fastlane was a bad show. Fastlane minus the last match. Fastlane was a bad show.
You're just grieving because Retribution's done and Slapjack and everybody else walked out on their leader.
I view this as...
Who's gonna feed Hogan now? My question.
So that's fine. Ali can go and feed Hogan. I view this as one step closer to the North American or the American title, U.S. title, whatever it's called. It's important. We want it. Two, one step closer to Slapjack subculture. So...
You know what's gonna happen is they're gonna give everybody else gimmicks except Slapjack because he talks like a funny Australian, and he's still gonna be the weird guy with the hockey mask.
Going to. I would actually love it if Slapjack became like perma jobber on WWE television, and like that was his job, to be like the Brian Adias of WWE 2021.
Well, they at least pushed Adias eventually in World Class. He stunk in NWA, but
I'm talking when he was on Global Championship Wrestling.
Oh, Global Brian Adias.
Yeah.
When he's
no body definition.
When he's a grizzled vet with no body definition.
None.
Still hadn't developed any promo skills. This is an unnecessary burial of Brian Adias, but I don't care.
Classic no tool player.
There's an episode of Worldwide, which you can no longer get on the WWE network, where it's just Tully's just trolling the hell out of Brian Adias. Okay, it's like, dude, get angry or something. Come on. Let's talk all things main roster now, because it's just I hated this Hurt Business thing. It's like Shelton's lost all concept of, he's become Cedric 2.
Yes! When the whole story, this whole time, is that there's a rift between Shelton and Cedric. From day one, they don't see eye to eye. They didn't see eye to eye when Cedric came into the group. Shelton looked eyes askance at Cedric when he joined. They became tag team champions. They were not on the same page when it came to finishes. Cedric was the hot dog. Shelton Benjamin was the cool, more measured veteran guy who's maybe getting ignored in favor of the hot dog. That was the tension, the dynamic. And now Shelton is as inept as Cedric And you're right, he's Cedric too, and it makes no sense. And you get punished for paying attention. Why is wrestling not cool, Jeff? Because I feel stupid because I understand this story so well that I feel dumber for understanding this story because it's a dumb story being told in the exact wrong way.
I just want Vince yelling, "Stars can't have friends. That's why we're doing this." Which is why they're doing this, pretty much, is because they want to separate him from his faction, because what's probably going to happen is they're all going to turn on Bobby Lashley, after, including MVP, right after the match for losing. And
then Lashley will be stuck in the mid-card by the end of the year. By the end of the year. Mark my words. This Hurt Business thing is a top-of-the-card, last to the next WrestleMania sort of gimmick, with MVP as his mouth. Like, we know MVP and Lashley is a time-tested gimmick. Shelton Benjamin is Shelton Benjamin. He's a great wrestler. Cedric Alexander is a great wrestler. This is a quality faction that has been criminally mishandled, has not been explored as a babyface unit at all, and never will be, and has not been used as the vehicle to make Bobby Lashley the credible heel champion, so that when you take the belt off of Lashley, it means something. And when Lashley goes to chase the belt again, it also means something. They think that they can just hotshot this, but there will be no audience to get behind Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley, even as heel champion, never had that signature badass, brutal, yeah, he was the heel in that match, but God, that was a good match at a SummerSlam or whatever, where he just beat the tar out of a Brock Lesnar or something like that. I don't, not Brock, obviously, but somebody, Samoa Joe, not Samoa Joe, obviously. Somebody, no, but like a person with Sheamus even, you know, like Sheamus been having banger matches. Him and Sheamus have a banger match where he just beats the tar out of Sheamus, and like they just, you know, they're a brutal mess.
They were trying for that Monday. Yes. I don't think they got there.
No, because they're trying to do all of these beats in super fast succession so that none of them mean anything. And a lot of these beats are very crowd dependent. This is the thing that they seem to understand on some level, or at least they're in a rush to be back in front of fans. But they also don't understand where that matters and where it doesn't. And in a presentation of Lashley like this, I think Lashley's face could work. But it only is going to work. One, I think it'll only work with MVP as his mouthpiece. Because, like, Lashley on his own as babyface, it ain't going to work, bro. It ain't going to. I like Lashley. I think Lashley's great. I've been a booster of Lashley for upwards of a decade. He's not going to work as a standalone babyface. He needs MVP.
Drew's killing all these fools on Monday, isn't he? Like in like a gauntlet, or even like a one-on-8 handicap match, or whatever it is. I mean, you have the Lucha House Party. You have Humberto Carrillo wearing the Rock at 13 turtleneck and gold chain. You have Drew Gulak. You have Tozawa standing there like a ninja.
Humberto Carrillo. Has there ever been a guy where it's like, you know, it's like a new car smell. You get into a car, it's got the new car smell. You get back in 6 months later, the car's not that much older, and yet, like, the new car, like, bing, and the new car smell is completely gone. Humberto Carrillo, I feel so bad for this guy, because that moment where he was, like, young, up-and-coming babyface, like, it got stolen away from this guy, and now, like, he's just another guy.
Dominic Mysterio here.
Yeah, he's just, he's Dollar General Dominic Mysterio, which is ridiculous.
And then there's Ricochet in his funny hat stage, I guess. I'm gonna wear this prop and see if people notice.
He's turned into that guy, like he's reached that age where you're getting a little bit old. You look at the mirror, you're no longer like the young man you once were. You're noticing a little bit of this, a little bit of the wrinkly stuff happening, and you're like, time to shake it up. I know what'll do it.
Oh, I did
that. Trilby. I'm doing a Trilby. This is cool. I'm bringing it back. Like,
I had my sweater vest phase and my page boy cap. I was going for a look, and I don't think it worked necessarily because I'm never going to be cool or stylish. And then sweater. They're like, why are you wearing sweater vests? I'm going because the woman who was giving me tips on headshots goes, you know,
watch Doug a whole lot.
So you're a middle management type. Wear a sweater vest, and then I I liked sweater vests. I can't help it. Okay.
Do you like sweater vests because
Not anymore.
Okay, did you like that because it provided side ventilation? Like, did you like showing off the guns?
You know what it was? You know what it was? It was the fact that I wasn't just wearing a button-down shirt. And, it provided that extra layer of protection if I was, like, eating a hamburger or something. Then you just take the sweater vest off it.
Okay, all right. I want to understand. You're like, I like sweater vest. I'm like, all right. So like, well, let's get to this.
I don't know. Look, I'm not a clothes guy. I've always been t-shirt, maybe long sleeve shirt and short sleeve shirt over it, and blue jeans guy. But I've always had to work in places with business casual. And I hate business casual. I hate it. I hate wearing khakis and non-sneakers and things like that. And, it was trying a look to appeal, possibly that I had some modicum of class or style or something, which I've never had. I'm never going to be cool. I've never had a lot of style. I hadn't dated a lot. Come on, Chris. I had to try something.
And you thought sweater vests were going to shake up the
I did not think that necessarily, but just a general. I had lost a lot of weight at that time, which I have since gained back. It was just something. Look, this tangent is not going my way, and I need to
undermine all this progress.
I need to cut this off. I need to cut this off because this is embarrassing me right now. And I
felt like we were getting someplace really real.
Feeling judged.
No, you're being loved. You're being loved.
I'm not taking crap from Seth Rollins. Okay?
If you were talking to Cody, okay, wow, sounds like you were talking to Cody. I was gonna say if you were talking to Cody, he'd be mocking you. Maybe I should be more like Cody, honestly.
Okay.
At this point, maybe I should more openly mock you. I gotta tell you, Cody's been sending me gifts, whether they are topical or not, involving Seth Rollins, ever since the Seth Rollins thing has started. There are some in the audience, not Cody, who are good-natured about this and don't mean anything bad about this. You're not being targeted here. You're not being mentioned here. People like Cody and yourself are mean-spirited about it and bring up the Seth Rollins thing as a way to try to push my buttons, and I think that that's really awful.
I was just trying to have a style, Chris, and that style was substitute teacher. And
I think it was Doug Funny, which makes me.
I never have seen Doug. I'm too old for Doug, so I don't necessarily get the reference. I've seen who Doug is, but yeah, is a WrestleMania match being built upon over being embarrassed by being put in a spin by Cesaro?
22 times. Yeah, no one does that to me. I love that, like, WWE's trying to act like this is a record, and there's absolutely no way that this is 22 is the record spin. Because I know that, like, at a WrestleMania, they did a big, like, Cesaro spin thing. Because back during the Yeselmania era, Cesaro was pretty hot at that point. There was a lot of pushing to push Cesaro from people. And a way of kind of taking advantage of some of that, WWE would have Cesaro do these big Cesaro swing spots. Like, he was a heel, and they'd still have him do these big Cesaro swing spots. So I know that he got way higher than 22 swings. So for them to act like that was some sort of record, it wasn't particularly impressive. Seth Rollins doesn't have any sort of lingering effects from it. I guess they will probably actually set the WrestleMania record for number of spins, and that will be the whole purpose of that match, and Cesaro will win that match. But they did a terrible job. Like, one last thought on this. They did a terrible job using Shinsuke Nakamura throughout the setup of this. Nakamura could have been a wonderful character to get seriously injured or be in serious peril at some point by Seth Rollins. Have Seth Rollins, like, seriously threaten to break this guy's knee or something like that, and have Cesaro come and save the day. Have Cesaro seriously injure Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Cesaro is out there to come and get revenge for what Seth Rollins has done to Shinsuke Nakamura. But what they did today, like, Cesaro goes and checks on Nakamura, and Nakamura's like, I'm okay. And then Cesaro's like, don't regret doing this. Yeah.
I kind of deep breath. Hey, yo, I'm okay. Go ahead. Remember when we thought that whole gauntlet match thing was going to start into a push for Nakamura? Yeah. I think the mistake here was making Rollins go crazy over the big what's he? It's not the big spin. What does he call
The
it?
giant swing.
The giant swing. Thank you. Close. If he had done, and it's one of the worst promos out there, but I still laugh hilariously at it. 94 ECW. Too Cold Scorpio is in a feud with Matt Bourne, who's unhireable anywhere else.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, he's not Doink, but he's born again.
Born again, yeah.
But he's putting the clown mask on people as a humiliation thing, and kind of and this thing, Scorpio cuts this promo like, could not believe you put that clown mask on me. The humiliation, I mean, just dead serious about this. If Rollins had come out like that, I can't go to family functions anymore because I was put in a giant swing. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Do you know how emasculating that is for me as a man?
So what he needs to be doing is he needs to come out with sunglasses on and sell that he has a case of vertigo.
Yes.
He needs to act like he's been seriously injured by this. I mean, I'm being dead serious.
Yes!
I know it's like it's gonna be funny. It's gonna it done right. It should be funny as hell. Like if MJF,
he should not camp it up at all. Just come out and
No,
go. I have
straight up.
serious vertigo because of this giant swing, and
He's
it
trying
may
to
ruin
get
my.
it. Yeah.
But you gotta use the WWE vernacular to say this might ruin my WrestleMania moment for this year.
You have decimated my chances to have a WrestleMania. Yeah. It's more like Decimania now for me, Seth Rollins, ever since this giant swing. Yeah. So, no, that's the way they need to handle it. Anyways, go ahead.
So Braun Strowman.
We forgot about last week. They started this double dare angle, and you don't.
We forgot the green slime.
You didn't grow up watching Nickelodeon, but I'm telling you, Jeff, if you need to understand where pro wrestling
was around when I was a kid, and you can't do that on television when I was like 10. So yes,
right, but Jay McMahon resembles Mark Summers of Double Dare at this point,
he does.
And once you introduce the hopscotch, we are very close to a Double Dare style challenge, with the green slime and everything. Braun Strowman needs to go down through the mouth tongue thing. Yeah. He fishes out something from a nose. I want them to do an obstacle course at WrestleMania. That needs to be the match.
I've been trying to think what is a wrestling match that will prove you're not stupid. Even though every other gimmick match has people that act stupid, slowly up the ladder, not leaving the cage to the door when you have a chance. I'm thinking spelling bee. Maybe
Who wants to be a millionaire?
A game of chess, some Trivial Pursuit, Odyssey of the Mind. We could have an entire Odyssey of the Mind type of thing.
You remember chess boxing? Yeah, you see where I'm going with this one.
Chess boxing. Vaguely. Okay, I remember. What were the rules of that? Did they make a move and then have a round and then the next round of moves?
So the game is timed, and so is the boxing match. So I think you have a minute or two of boxing, and then you have 3 or 4 minutes of chess, and then a minute or two of boxing. I can look up the specific rules about chess, but you oscillated back and forth from getting punched in the head.
What are we doing? I mean, I know I've heard that they've been on different weeks. I just have never noticed the train sounds when he's running around the ring. Can we?
The train sounds are so. Who is this for? Think about this. WWE knows that their demo is not the demo. Their demo is old people.
Can we get
Like,
the Quad City DJs to come on the train and ride it, and the rights to it, and then as soon as he
that
starts
would be
running around the
closer
ring,
to their demo. It would be better off having Dennis Miller out there making 80s topical references.
I haven't seen a train like that since Runaway Train with John Voight in it in 1978.
Get Miller on commentary.
I don't think I've seen a train stunt that well put off since Buster Keaton did it in The General.
Since Fitzcarraldo. Yeah. Like.
Oh dear God, this is such a crappy WrestleMania, and yet because of the constraints, they've done the right thing and built nothing but one-on-one matches, with the exception of the triple threat. But all the one-on-one feuds,
These angles all just suck. It
just suck.
They just suck.
And they've all fought each other 50 times already, and
this has to be, of all the permutations of Owens and Zayn, this is the absolute bottom of the barrel, most boring iteration of the Sami Zayn Kevin Steen feud in their entire career. You can watch them all and not find something worse than this documentary crap.
He bullies. Oh, and by the way, we're getting Logan friggin' Paul next week. Can we take the
Thank
Paul
God.
brothers between Jacob and Luke, or Logan, and can we just shoot them onto an Elon Musk rocket onto Mars? These two wastes of space who the kids love on the YouTube, even though was it Logan Paul who did that thing in the Japanese suicide?
Yeah, I was just saying, I
forest?
thought Logan Paul. That's
Is he
what
gonna
I
be
always.
edited for the Peacock now?
I'm like WWE, who again wants to be family friendly. Like they didn't see this.
I mean,
it is a good get, but like. Logan Paul's kind of in that PewDiePie area. Like PewDiePie's a little more problematic, but like he's in that area of like people who do like edgelord content stuff, and so like inherently you're doing problematic stuff. And yeah, like I thought the Logan Paul thing, and to your point, Logan Paul's big claim to fame is that Japanese incident is this week. Given the current news climate, really the best time to be booking Logan Paul. An open question for discussion, or a discussion that should have been had before you booked the guy.
NXT gonna book Steven Crowder for their thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, we have Sasha and Bianca. No Reginald involved yet. Thank God. Sounds like they're gonna. But like I said, they alluded to on commentary that maybe Bailey is gonna get real after that.
I was really missing Reggie on the show today.
After all the crap on Raw that he did, come on.
Yeah, but I just that was so long ago.
Oh,
I could use him on Friday too.
Yeah. So Kevin Owens bullies Sami Zayn into saying yes to a match and then beats him.
Oh, okay. So I at least understand what's going on there. Next week, when Zayn presents the documentary, he will show this edited out of context and make it look bad. Here's the thing, though. Owens and the way they wrote this really is being a dick during this. And yes, Zayn's being disingenuous, but there's never this moment during that promo where it looks like Zayn's getting ready to attack Owens. And like what needed to happen there is that Zayn was getting ready to attack Owens, and it's very clear Owens catches him, beats him to the punch, starts beating him down, and then Zayn edits out that one key moment so that it looks like Owens is just the aggressor. But instead, what happens is that Owens actually is just the aggressor this whole time. And yes, we know Zayn's been a dick. Yes, we know that Zayn's a self-indulgent, conspiratorial ass. He's convinced everyone's after him. There's this big conspiracy. Everything's out to get him. They're all screwing Sammy. He's got a documentary crew documenting him. Yes. We know all this stuff. However, this is WWE. They don't really do subtlety all that well. That's like super subtle. And Owens is not bringing attention to any of the disingenuousness in the promo because he's so aggro about getting this match at WrestleMania for reasons that are not particularly clear.
Logan Paul's hitting a stunner on him, I bet, too. Yeah. Yeah. Apollo Crews has lost his last 5 Intercontinental title matches. And now he gets one at Mania. Okay, great. Rhea Ripley shows up, challenges Asuka. I guess this is okay, but it's funny to me. They're going, oh my God, I can't believe she's here. It's like, wasn't she at last WrestleMania? And you killed her dead there when you should have made her a star.
And there was such a downbeat between the last time we saw her on TV losing to Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Who's being heavily pushed.
Doesn't count, not on the main roster.
Yeah, but like, let's suppose that you thought wrestling was cool. Not a common thought in 2021. But you wanted to watch all of it because you thought it was cool. Or maybe you grew up and thought it was cool growing up, and stupid you still think it's cool. You would have saw that.
I don't have anything else for the main roster I want to go through. I'm just done with it right now. And it's not even going to be the go-home show, because the go-home shows are happening. I realized this because I thought, okay, next week we're going to have all these go-home shows and it's going to be hard to watch. But no, it's only going to be the go-home shows for NXT, because the go-home shows are sandwiching the NXT takeover next week going into Saturday and Sunday for Mania. So I'm just like, we have 2 more weeks to build. Yay.
No, I got a little more to say. Like LA Knight here. LA Knight.
Oh wait, we're not on NXT. Okay, but yeah. Okay,
I'm sorry. I thought you said we were done with WWE.
I was gonna have a palate cleanser of my one note from AEW. And
Okay.
then move into NXT.
Okay. My bad. I thought you said you were done with WWE. Which
I was done with the main roster.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I liked MJF's promo on AEW. I thought it kicked it into gear. It's a more serious MJF, a little more bloodthirsty MJF. I think this Pinnacle thing might work out. Sean Spears is still, although they gave him the big win, they gave him the win in that 6-man, which was pretty good. It reeked of, again, a kind of a Crockett squash from the 80s, but I liked all of it.
I have no problem with those type of matches. Look, you need undercard people. And I like the Varsity Blondes, as I've long said. I think the real mileage with them is when they finally turn heel. I actually like this little trio pairing, because eventually, if they want to turn heel on Dante Martin, that sets him up perfectly for a tag team feud with Top Flight when Martin's tag team partner gets back.
And it goes into old school wrestling logic that tag team wrestlers are best as a team, not necessarily as a solo guy, even though that this is in a 6-man situation. He's not with his partner. He's with people he doesn't know. So I dug that a lot.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt the Varsity Blondes or anything. And it gives them experience with all these guys. And also, like, long term, there's an interesting story that continues to get built between Griff Garrison and MJF. And I would love to see that, like, if Garrison can get there, he's got to work his way up to this. But if Garrison can get himself there, there's a real interesting feud to be had with MJF and Garrison. Going back to that one time where MJF really made it a point to humiliate Griff Garrison in the ring on the microphone throughout the course of that match.
Oh, I had another note. I remember actually. Sure. This will bounce off the first one though. Does Pinnacle need a woman? And there's an obvious choice, but she may never get signed. Would Britt Baker fit in to Pinnacle?
You know, it's funny that you mentioned her. I had actually had a similar thought this week that, like, Britt Baker in Pinnacle is really interesting, and I think it makes some sense. I think it gives her a little something else. She didn't need it, but I think that Britt Baker and MJF also is a fun dynamic, and I like those two as like
It gets away from the flunky aspect of having Rebel there as well, or Reba, which is more comedic, and the dentist office talk show and stuff. It makes her a more serious wrestler to me.
I think we're at that point. Yeah. I mean, I also thought I get wanting to get her back on the heel side of the ledger and making sure you get your heat back with that promo. Maybe another course of action though would have been to turn her face. Kind of shake up this division a little bit here.
Tay Conti as pint-sized killer. I am here for this.
Yeah, very
loved. Look, they got a little winded towards the end of the match, and you could tell they hadn't been in a match that long, neither of them, for a while. But really, this is an indictment of the Performance Center and the drills they have them doing there, that they're not using people's natural skills to then make them natural wrestlers. She is a judo black belt. Use that and then teach her how to grapple a little bit better. Instead of doing flips and doing choreography and dancing, and
work with her to figure out a match style.
Yes,
So you
yes.
figure out what some of these key judo throws are going to be, and you get kind of a sense of them and go, okay, cool. I like that. I like that. That one toss, that's neat. So when you do that, get back up, and you can kind of then you bring back in the pro wrestling stuff and build the pro wrestling around the judo moments.
Yeah, and I thought that was great for her. I thought that was a great win for her.
Yes.
She has personality. She still needs to work a little on the acting. I get it. I think it's a little bit of a bit of a sore spot, but as she moves up, but for right now, she's great. Hopefully she can learn to cut a good promo in English as well. I haven't heard one yet, but yeah, I did have a lot of notes on AEW, although I enjoyed the show quite a bit. So
yeah, okay, so my one big thought with AEW is the turns are leaving everyone cold.
Yeah,
the rapid turning and the rapid succession of a lot of these turns. Like you forget about people turning, and it is not heating people up. It is cooling people down.
Agreed.
And
Brian Cage is gonna be cooled down from getting away
yes,
from this.
yes, yeah, right. And so if your turns are not creating heat, they're bad turns. It's the best way to grade them. And like obviously they can go wrong after you do the turn, where you have like a clunker of a match, or like this person can't execute it. But if the first thing out the gate is, well, it doesn't seem like they're getting hotter because of this. Like Cage does not seem hotter after saying, Sting, you know what, I respect you. Okay, well, was that the right move? Maybe it will be. That's actually one I don't feel as cold on. But yeah, like the Bucks. They have gone so many different directions with the Bucks here in the last 6 months that, like, I just don't care anymore. And I will say this, too. Matt Jackson, not a good enough promo to take me on the ins and outs left and right here when we're going hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold.
Cage is one to me that I respect you, Sting. That's one you do, and you just let it simmer there for a while, for a few weeks, even a few months even. Until you get into another big feud and maybe Cage loses a match. And it's like, well, that's because you're going soft or whatever. And then the rest of the guys can turn on him. They're like the whole Ricky Starks is definitely playing passive aggressive about it, in the whole, are you okay? Starks, yeah, okay, type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. NXT Universe, we'll end with that.
Oh, real quickly, John Silver.
Ahead.
I thought he had a really nice match here. I like Silver. I thought
shoulder post match though. He legit injured it. That's a shame.
Apparently, we'll be back within 4 to 6 weeks. Doesn't need surgery, so that's
good.
Cool.
That's a good thing, as opposed to Danny Burch, who I think is going to be out for a while.
I know. We need to talk about that when we get to NXT UK, because that changes belt rules in a serious way. One moment in this match that I thought was like silly was when Darby Allin does a coffin drop on the entirety of the Dark Order, and like it was utterly gratuitous. Like he didn't need to do that, and given that this match was kind of a sporting contest, like this was meant to be like a tribute match to Brody Lee sort of thing. Darby Allin going in gratuitously attacking the Dark Order when they had not attacked, and when they had not actually attacked Darby, I thought was too far. Also looks like they're doing something with Allin Five Angels, or the one guy who they forgot they left off the lawn. Yeah, that guy's gonna. Yeah, Five's in trouble here.
Yeah, I like that. I liked the post match when it became the scrum between the Dark Order and everybody else kind of I love that Tay Conti, zoom, right there for Allie. I thought that was neat. Yeah, it's a fun show.
I think Matt Hardy's going to buy Five. That's where I think this is going.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think Matt Hardy purchases 5 from the Dark Order, or like
You think they're gonna break him off? Okay.
Yes, yeah, or he turns them. You know what I mean? I'll make you big money. Dark Order's not actually taking care of you. They're always leaving you on the lawn, or they're leaving you off the lawnmower. They're always leaving you off the lawnmower. One of my big problems in life, you're always leaving me off the lawnmower. You never invite me.
Why did Joseph Connors need to get his win back against Jack Stars?
Well, Joseph Connors is a pretty hot guy, and he's been a protected entity inside of NXT. No, you won't. You will respect me because I think that he's okay. Wow. This show just took a real move off the rails.
Well, so did NXT UK this week.
You didn't think the Supernova Sessions with 7 was red hot?
Oh my God, that went on forever. That thing went on for friggin' ever.
It was agony.
Just to get to Shaw Samuels coming out and we're gonna have it.
I'm his friend. You forgot about me. I'm actually friends with him.
With the exception of the main event, which we'll get to, because that was a manly match.
Yeah, no, that was dude. Coming around on Gradwell with me. You're getting on the Gradwell.
Around on Gradwell.
Yeah, you're getting on the Gradwell train. Yeah, you're getting on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like the Piper Niven pep talk after the match to Stars. I thought that was a cool little cute moment, a little stilted, but still kind of hey, actually have friends and stuff in wrestling. It was kind of nice. I am despondent that I don't think we're ever going to see the wild boar Mike Hitchens again, Chris.
I can't decide because part of me wants to go. We'll never see Mike Hitchman again. He's been let go. They come from the hunt. However, this is WWE television, and they keep mentioning him, which makes me wonder if maybe Hitchman's coming back to feud with Eddie Dennis and the Hunt, which would be idiotic. But like babyface Boar?
Stranger things have happened. I mean,
he comes back and he joins up with South Wales Subculture, and they have like a 3-on-3 match. So like I don't know that Hitchman's out of the company. They keep mentioning him. And if he was really
maybe he's now the mild boar, and he comes in, he's wearing a suit.
The tame boar. Yeah.
I like Tyson T-Bone, but this tag team combination really did not click for me in some ways.
It's like I like them. They have a good look, but they're no longer the Hunt. It's not the Hunt. They're like two brawling. Tyson T-Bone looks great too. Like he's clearly been putting in some work. I've always liked him. I've always thought he's like got a tough look, but dude's covered in tats and is in really tight shape right now. And like that's great. I like him and Primate on paper, but they're not the Hunt. And they're just dudes in khakis right now.
And Primate's still wearing the G.I. Joe stuff from the anything, which that match still possibly my match of the year.
I call that one fantastic. That's his guerrilla warfare outfit.
Guerrilla warfare, yes. Yeah, not as Primate-y anymore.
No.
So it's kind of sad. I've turned on Pretty Deadly though. I've turned on them. I like them now. They are such flakes. They are such outstanding, flaky heels. The
line about my mother being an idiot. That's ace level heel work. Invoking your mother and talking about how she's always wrong. Oh, like these guys get it. They get how to heel.
That's the next crew to bring over to NXT from UK.
And I've always been up on that twerpy, horrible theme song of theirs. Yeah, it's great. They're great.
Is it time to get to that main event, or is there something else that hit? I mean, we had another segment in the longest running angle in UK history.
Yeah, and it's your heart's gonna be broken, and I'm gonna be despondent. I don't know how we're gonna get through this cast when Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan break up, but it seems that's where we're going here. Let's get to that main event, though. This main event. Oh, man.
I was watching this.
Man.
Sam Gradwell, I'm not going to say he was taking liberties with young Ilya Dragunov, but some of those shots with if you've never been hit with a cord like that, and hate to say I have been. There was that one early on the back of the head that you could tell stung Ilya something fierce, and he was not happy. And some of those shots afterwards weren't exactly hitting on toughened parts of the body, let's put it that way. But this was some manly stuff from both gentlemen. I'm liking loose cannon Ilya Dragunov quite a bit. This was a hose-worthy match. Let's put it this way. I said hose me about 10 minutes through, because they were, although the steps being the most, that part where he's begging off the stairs, these hollow ass stairs.
The only thing that sucked was I have a kid. I have
a child.
That's
a child.
The thing I did like though was the body slam onto the stairs, and Dragunov, who is normally a little bit like a little over the top with his selling style. I thought he did the right thing here and sold it like it was brutal death agony. An amazing sell. An amazing sell.
I thought he really hurt himself. I just man, he is.
No,
and he is
great.
He's crying and he's shouting at the same time. That is the match of the week, kids. Go out of your way. If you don't watch NXT UK,
it's a coming out match.
It's a solid little hour that they do. I'd watched that match, and then from earlier this year, I'd watch Kaylee Ray versus Miko Satomura. That was a great match. And then the South Wales Social Club versus the Hunt street fight where Eddie Dennis takes the
man. As you're listing this off, it's as though NXT UK has on average at least one good match, like actually pretty darn good match a month. And I know the online wrestling community has about 5.5 jokes, and we love every one of them, and we squeeze every juice out of those lemons. And one of those jokes is that NXT UK is not a real show. But I just want to stack it up.
It's my favorite hour of
wrestling, quite frankly. And if I had to tranche out like all of the AEW various things, Elevation, Dark Elevation, Dynamite, NXT, NXT UK, SmackDown, Raw, NXT UK ranks sneakily high out of all of the different shows that I watch. And it's not just because those other shows are bad. It's because NXT UK is not trying to be something it's not. It has a credible top-of-the-card champion in Walter, and a credible top-of-the-card faction in Imperium, a credible mid-card faction in Gallus, a great women's champion in Kaylee Ray, Mako Satomura, a legend in her own right in this division, and you have these mid-card matches that have some substance and or some work, whether it's Gradwell and Ilya Dragunov, who had a great match with the champion Walter, or is having a great match now in the middle of the card with Sam Gradwell. Oh, by the way, they also do a nice job building people. Rampage Brown. Maybe you're not like, I love Rampage Brown. Okay, I feel you, bro. He's not the most exciting guy in the world. He's been built in an extremely coherent way, steadily, from introduction to defeating Joe Coffey in a meaningful match and getting the tip of the cap from Joe Coffey, and now he's on his way to a title match, which I bet
he's a little cocksure. He's like, hey, let me find the big who couldn't beat Joe, or who could Joe Coffey not beat? Walter. I'm gonna go knock that guy on his ass.
Yep,
and he did. And that, I am not a Rampage Brown guy at all. I don't see a lot.
But they did a nice job.
They did a nice job on him. Yes.
Yep.
I agree. They do some nice slow storytelling from time to time, and it's pretty darn good.
And it's just not trying to be too much. Even something like Nina, my girl Nina, and Zaya Brookside. That's been a nice, fun running gag. It didn't overstay its welcome.
Wrestling,
classic pro wrestling stuff.
That is some 80s territory. I won you to be my slave, so now I'm gonna get. She's eventually gonna get one over on Zaya, and we're gonna have to go into another match. But it's
and then you have one of the best pieces of long form storytelling in the last decade. Eat your heart out, New Japan. Yeah, no, okay, Ghetto. What? Yeah, Ghetto. Oh, I love his booking in the G1. Well, you have Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan on television every single week.
You suck.
Oh, I love the G1. Okay.
Hey, Dick Togo's back, but I got Amir Williams,
Yeah,
Amir
yeah.
Jordan, and Kenny
Oh,
Williams.
Tanahashi and Okada passing the boards. Oh, 7 great matches.
All right.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
let's,
people.
Let's suffer through NXT. The best feud in NXT right now is Escobar and Devlin. I hate to say this because they haven't fought each other, which is the best part of this. This match does not need a ladder, though. I know. Look, HBK coming out, it was a little too much for me. I keep them
Subtlety's not really his thing, Jeff.
Yeah, I know, but we don't need a ladder for this. The ladder seems we just got two guys who just are jawing each other that they're the champ, and now we're going to unify the title. I am good with that as a match.
Yeah, I mean, the ladder's the idea of the convergence, right? You have the two sides, and they
Yeah.
can into one. Like I get visually why it makes some sense. I'm with you. I don't need it. I want them to just have a banger of a match. These are cruiserweights. I want them to do high-flying moves from the top rope to the outside. I want a couple of key, really awesome from the inside to the outside high-flying spots. A 450 to the outside. Something that's been sold like it means something. Big, hard-hitting. If you want to have Legato involved in the match, you can. I'd have them done away with in a pre-match angle. So it's just these two guys, and we figure out who's the better man. So at the end of this, someone, hopefully Devlin. I think it probably makes more sense Devlin than Escobar. Although Escobar maybe it makes more sense to really turn Devlin into a babyface at this point where he's chasing Escobar. You have him screw up, but that's the other problem with a ladder match. A ladder match makes it hard to actually do a screw angle because like anything goes in a ladder match. Like
Yeah.
you know. When
There's no DQ in a ladder match, so here comes
When
the
John
Gato del
Cena-
Fantasma.
John Cena handcuffed Randy Orton to the corner. That wasn't a heel move. That's just like normal booking in a wrestling match, in a ladder match.
Yeah. I am slightly disappointed that they stripped Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch of the tag team titles as opposed to just putting Pete Dunne in there.
Absolutely.
Or even Pat McAfee coming in to help defend the tag titles.
Well, no, I mean it's incoherent, right? Like you're looking
Yeah.
at this cruiserweight angle right now, and that's an angle that basically is impossible if you followed the Oni Lorcan Danny Burch rules. So like what they're doing right now with Lorcan and Burch, or what they have done with Lorcan and Burch, is a move of convenience, a move of boredom, perhaps with Lorcan. But it doesn't make any sense. And it's not consistent with the way that they have historically treated injured tag team partners. Like in the Undisputed Era, they had Bobby Fish get injured, and they just moved the belt over. This is just not. It was a dumb way of doing this. And then I really hated Lorcan not coming out as more of a house of fire on Fallen Prey when he came out and had his squash match. Now he should absolutely lose to Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
But in that loss, he should be angry as hell, and it's an awesome opportunity to give Fallen Prey a really tough, hard-hitting enhancement match because Oni Lorcan's out there with a specific thing that's gnawing at him that he's pissed off about this week. So he come out there and be extra hard-hitting, extra stiff, and Cross can overcome him. It'll all make sense, and then you can downcycle Oni Lorcan. No one thinks that Oni Lorcan's on his way to a title shot anyways. But you give Karrion Kross a hard-hitting match to get us ready for his angle with Finn Balor instead of what this match was, which was like just kind of like a thing that happened.
Do I want to sandwich the two things that were awesome between the things that I didn't like, or do I want to do two good things now? No, let's sandwich it. There's only like 2 women's tag teams in all of NXT. Are we really celebrating our defense after that? I liked the angle with Mercedes. She's gonna bleed that dope Robert Stone dry, which I'm here for. Aaliyah, God bless her. She tries. I mean, she takes a great Eclipse. Don't get me wrong. But we're gonna go to Indy and Candice. That's fine. But who do you have after that? Other than maybe we put Tony Storm and Mercedes back together. The point of these tag teams belts.
How quickly you forget about Casey and Caden? How quickly?
She's not ready, and I don't think I don't think old Raquel and Dakota are going to be doing that, but I liked that match too. I liked the Zoe Stark Io Shirai match. I think they're doing Raquel properly. I have my concerns as to whether or not if you belt Raquel, she can handle that part of the character. She comes well off as Angry and Next and the Giant. I just don't know if
she's an awesome Diesel. I don't know that she's an awesome Shawn Michaels.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't.
That's the best thing I've. Yeah. No, that's great. Continue.
Yeah. I just like. I really like Zoe Stark too. I think they're doing a nice job getting her into the mix. I think there's a lot there with Zoe Stark. She's just something different. And she's a good foil for Raquel Gonzalez too. I like them as a potential future pairing. I have real concerns though, much like Diesel, when it comes time to do the long form title match. Raquel Gonzalez is just not there yet. And she's really good in spurts. And what will happen when you put the belt on her, if you put the belt on her, is that it will become very obvious that like 20 minutes is not really her thing.
Roderick Strong is a great pissed off jerk, and I like that about him. And he's right. He goes, both of you broke up my faction. I think he should still make mention of the fact that, hey, I turned on Pete Dunne to join you guys, and you guys screwed this all up for me too. Kyle O'Reilly is not a dynamic House of Fire babyface.
No, hold on. Rewind here. I'm sorry, Jeff, but when it's time to sell, it's time to sell. And Roderick Strong was presented a great opportunity to sell the IP for the Undisputed Era. What I think is really, it's not going to get it. It's not going to get any better. So, if anything, Cameron Grimes was probably screwing himself up here.
Maybe we can do the ultimate. Nah, not that.
Yeah. Roddy screwed Roddy is what I want you to understand here. Now go on to Kyle O'Reilly.
Now, see, I kind of want Cameron Grimes to go, hey, you were raised in a trailer park? Kind of bond that way. Bring back that little Easter egg from NXT. Yeah, this stare down with Adam Cole, I think it finally got on pace. William Regal's always a great headmaster. He'll always be the guy in the school. I don't want you students making a mockery of this institution type of thing.
But these last couple of weeks have been a real testament to the fact that William Regal can't just rise above crappy content. This stuff with the cops has been absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, and O'Reilly's kind of monologue and his look is ridiculous. He looks like an extra from The Outsiders from 1983. What is going on there? But it's like when he yelled "Look it in my eyes," that was at least, I felt like that was an ad lib of some sort, so that felt natural. But the other stuff isn't just natural. It's like I sold my soul for this team, and now I want my soul back. It's a decent little line. Don't get me wrong. It's a decent little line, but he's been a part of the Undisputed Era for so long that I don't buy that necessarily.
And then the Undisputed Era became a good thing. This is the big problem with, like, I sold my soul for this group. Okay, except that, like, in the tail end of the Undisputed Era run, you guys were the good guys. Yeah, you were faces. So the moral redemption had already occurred, or like but maybe not redemption. If you want to go, well, they never actually atoned for their sins. Okay, sure, fine. That's not how wrestling works, but like I'll go with that. They still morally changed into being better people in a way that they were no longer the bad people they once were. Adam Cole diverged. He reverted back to the way they were. And they've all changed, but yeah, it's a little cold, man, and it's a shame because like O'Reilly and Balor was such a hot angle a few months ago, and this is not heating them up. And as I said, when you're not heating stuff up, that's a bad turn.
I'll take Roddy Strong, Bobby Fish, and Ridge Holland killing both of these guys, please. But I don't know if that's going to happen necessarily here. And now, if that Ilya Dragunov match was not just off the charts great, this might be my match of the year. Walter murder-deathing Drake Maverick was just fantastic. It's everything I want in a squash. There's no BS. There's no gritty baby face. No, he murdered death this guy, and it was fantastic. And then Ciampa comes out and gets murder death. Yes, this is what a heel faction is supposed to do. I love Imperium. I love Walter. I'm here for this, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm very here for this. I like the hanging ambiguity about Thatcher. Will he or won't he? I liked that Drake Maverick. One, his theme is bizarre now because it's now incorporated part of the whistling thing, like the WWE mashup genre. At some point, I'm gonna have to write a research paper on like the weird.
They're the worst.
They're so
worst. When they make a tag
so
team,
musical. It's like impressive how like disregarding of musicality some of these mashups are. Like there's a much more musical way to merge them together, and they come up with these hideous, just like smash cuts.
Now hold on, what was the worst one? Like I can't think of a lot of them because like the ones from like the Attitude Era, they do like
Fandango and Tyler Breeze's is pretty bad. Like because that
Hell Yes was pretty bad too, where you have Flight of the Valkyries and Kane's theme together. That one was pretty bad.
That was pretty bad. Oh man,
I think Jericho and Big Show kind of worked.
Yeah, I want to say Jericho and Big Show kind of worked. I mean, man,
I don't want dead.
Yeah,
air
yeah. You know how I feel about dead air on cast, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm fine with this angle. I think that's all I got. That's all I got.
So next week it's gonna be a chock full of. I think we're gonna have to do. Are we gonna have to do all 4 shows or just the? No. We're just gonna have to do the takeover because we still have the go home shows for WrestleMania that week. So we can do takeover reviews while we're doing the WrestleMania previews. But next week we're gonna do takeover previews and our predictions for that, and they'll have the card all solidified and stuff. How does that sound?
I mean, that sounds like what this podcast would be expected to do, as our beat is to cover AEW and WWE.
It's a Jeff show. It's whatever Jeff wants to do, pretty much. And Chris,
okay. And Chris, of course. Like,
no. But how I explain it. No, here's how I explained it, because this we used to get heat with when Rob was hosting too, and it's like, and then that's how Rob kind of explained. It's like, it's our show. We're gonna go where we want. And then after he left, it's like, well, it's a Jeff show. He's going to go where he wants. And sometimes I think you're just going to leave me again, Chris, and I'm never going to have a co-host that wants to stick around.
I mean, if anything, my entire career shows that I will stick around. If there are 20 people listening to the show but actually listening to the show, I'll keep making the content. Like, I mean, if I was playing a show live, right? Like if I was, playing music and I had 20 people in the house, they're all actually there and they're actually there to see me, I'd be happy about that. I mean, obviously, I'd want it to be bigger.
I've done comedy shows for the light guy, so
yeah. But if people are gonna come out and listen to you, if people are gonna take time to listen to your show, or people are gonna take time to actually come and see you play live in the city, you got to respect that, man. You got to play hard for them.
Once again, thank you to my bookie. Use code ROPES. Get up to $1,000 cash deposit back. You can follow me at CrapGame13. You can follow Chris at DWATG. You can just follow the show at Shake Them Ropes. Again, if you just want to see our pretty faces spouting the words that we're saying on audio on YouTube, youtube.com. I believe it's /Voices of Wrestling, but I'll double check that so I have a better plug next week. Not going to edit that out. But anyways, if you just want to get when the new shows come out, I update the Shake Them Ropes, all one word, account, and I retweet when Voices of Wrestling drops the audio, so you don't have to listen to our banality on Twitter. Although if you want that, again, I'm at CrapGame13. Chris is at DWATG. Chris, DWATG stands for something. What does it stand for? Dwatji.
Dwat. I make up words, and Dwatka is one of the ones that I've been trying to get over for about a decade with limited success. You can go and find the show. Don't worry about the government over at Don't Worry.
Dwatji is your rapper name. There we go.
Yeah. Dwat G in the house. Go and download it on your phone. Play your phone in your house. Play it on your TV. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. Don't worry about the government's name of the show. Our Patreon's patreon.com/DWATG. Trying to put out shows. Trying to do twice a week. Been working more, so it's like more like once a week. There's an episode that I put out about Myanmar. It was like 2 hours. It's like just a straight me monologue show. If you want to hear me kind of go in depth about the history of Myanmar since about the mid 20th century to now. Interesting show. I learned a lot putting together that show. You might check that out over at don'tworry.tv on iTunes, on Stitcher, and Spotify. That's it. That's all she wrote.
That is it.